Okay, guys, you know, on this movie, well, I wanted to like it. I wanted to like it so much, but it just didn't hit the mark. It just didn't climb out of rotten territory. It came so close, but it just didn't, and I know why. At least in my opinion, I know why. I'm going to be taking a look at the 2018 film Red Sparrow. It has a 45% on the tomato meter and a 49% on the audience score. It only has a small number of audience reviews, 7,900, which is unusually small even for a movie from 2018. It has Jennifer Lawrence, after all. It has Joel Edgerton. It has Jeremy Irons and Mary Louise Parker and others, but those are the most recognizable names there. This should have more than 7,900 audience reviews, but apparently it's been largely forgotten about. It was not a box office success. It made 17 million, but I'm almost certain it cost a lot more than that to make. It had production value. It had a good actual spy thriller theme and script going on. I really wanted to like it, and I think its biggest failing, the thing that made it a letdown for me, was that the actual character of Red Sparrow, played by Jennifer Lawrence, she just wasn't set up properly. She was portrayed in a very unemotional manner. Jennifer Lawrence definitely did as she was told, and she portrayed this character as very cold, often vicious, kind of like with a fatalistic view of the world, which is fine, and it's the kind of character you would want in a story like this. At least I think I would, except the film just didn't explain how she got that way. You know, when you talk about character arcs, like how a character is when you first meet them in a story, and then how they end up at the end of the film, in a lot of films, in a lot of stories, books, plays, whatnot, you want them to have changed. That's where you call the character arc. You want to see the character change in some way at the end. And, you know, not every story is going to need a character to do that. Some stories work just fine with the character starting out one way and ending up the same way, as long as other things changed, as long as something else is going on. But in this case, this story needed you to see not only this character start in one condition and start believably in that condition so that you knew how she got there, what her background was, but then you needed to see her change and you needed to see her become something else at the end of the story. This type of story, the way the plot unfolded, the way the script was, it demands that to happen to your main character, this Red Sparrow. Unfortunately, we didn't get that, and we got basically a character that didn't change from beginning to end, very little growth or change, and we never got an idea of how she became that way. To make a long story short, she's basically Red Sparrow is a woman that was kind of connected in the upper society of Russia, in that she was a very famous ballet dancer. She had all the right connections, and due to circumstances and an injury, she couldn't be that ballet dancer anymore, and she basically was forced into a life of espionage against her will for the most part. But yet we never got any setup on why she was so able to be ruthless and cold and function in an espionage role. There's no setup for that, and we watch her do what she's doing, but we don't get any emotion out of it, and we don't understand, well, how did she become like that? That would be a very interesting story if you told me how she became the type of person that would have gone and done the things that she did in this movie, but the movie doesn't give us that. The movie just has her doing what she's doing, and you just don't feel anything for it, and I think that's where you get other nitpicks that are going to come into this. Now, if she had been done properly, if we could have seen her progress from one kind of character to another, if we had been set up with her at the beginning and felt something for her at the very start, then we probably wouldn't have seen the other flaws, and I think this movie would have been successful, and it definitely wouldn't have been rotten. But as it sits now, 49% on the audience score, I think that's about right. This should definitely stay rotten. Even if it edged up to 55%, that would be fair. but it shouldn't cross to 60%. It's just we have a big fail on the main character, and this type of story, you can't fail on the main character. Now, this movie has a lot of sexual theme to it, and you can nitpick and say whether or not that helps or hurts the movie. It could have been fine if the character was done right, but the character, there just wasn't anything there to make all that sexual themed stuff going on, to make it emotional, to make it impactful. So if there was a message to be found here, it just completely disintegrated because the main character wasn't there to deliver that message, and so it was a thematic fail, if you will. And so let's get right into the audience reviews. Now that I've given you my opinion on what's wrong with it, let's see what everybody else thinks. One Day Ago, 1 star. You know it's a propaganda piece when a film has the word red in the title. Watching paint dry is sexier and more entertaining than this trashy flick. Again, that sounds like somebody that just couldn't get into the main character, and yeah, there's nothing here without that main character. This whole thing's going to fail. If I had to give this a star rating, I would say 2 stars, because everything's there to keep me watching. I have seen this twice. The first time I saw this, I saw it in the theater, and that's why it disappointed me, because I really wanted to like this movie. I saw it the first time in the theater, its opening week, and I actually enjoyed it enough not to be mad that I had seen it in the theater. It was okay. I thought it was okay. 2 stars, 2.5 stars, sure. Now, watching it again yesterday, just to refresh myself on it, I see the flaws and exactly why it disappointed me a little. We just didn't get the character that this story needed. So I say 2 stars. This is 2 stars. It's worth watching one time, but don't expect, some kind of fantastic spy thriller that at the end you're going to be on the edge of your seat, because it should have been that way, but since we're not into the character, since the character never had a character arc, you just don't feel it, even though everything is pretty much in place to have that type of film, to have a successful film like that. But the main character wasn't there to just carry you along for it, so it didn't work. Let's see what else we have going on here. 0.5 star from 2 days ago. This movie was an entry vessel. I think they mean maybe empty vessel. There was no heart, no soul, no depth, no real content. Lawrence was tragically miscast. First of all, it is very hard to see her as a seductress. She is simply not hot enough. Second, she is way too large to be a prima ballerina. Next, she did not bring enough bravado to the part. And in poor writing, the amateurism direction, and a poorly executed plot, and you have a movie that is more like a sleeping pill than an exciting espionage thriller. Yeah, I'll agree with a lot of that. Yes, Jennifer Lawrence doesn't look like a ballerina. We know what they look like. She's a little bit too thick, a little bit too big for that. But, you can kind of hand wave that away. But you can't hand wave too much stuff away at the same time, and then you can't get into it. But yes, I agree. She doesn't look like a ballerina. I don't know if she ever could. She might not have the right body type for it no matter what. So you might say that possibly she's miscast. Now, as far as whether she's hot enough or not, that's a matter of personal taste. I don't think she's the hottest thing out there either, but I don't think she's ugly, and a lot of that is what Hollywood does with a woman's, with her makeup, with the lighting, etc. So that's a matter of personal opinion. I've known Russian women that were considered very hot, and a lot of them, they weren't anything special to me, although everybody around me thought they were, just because, they were Russian and had, I guess, sexy accents or whatever. So that's a matter of personal taste. But yes, the primary flaw here is that she doesn't resemble a ballerina that we know, her body type. The movie did its best to try to convince you that she could perform as one. I didn't find that bad, but then again, I'm not a fan of ballet. So somebody that's used to watching ballet would probably find it offensively bad, but as just a normie in the ballet sense that knows nothing about ballet, it was okay. It was enough to keep me along for the ride with the story. But, your mileage is going to vary. Now, as far as, poorly executed plot, I don't think the plot was poorly executed at all. I think it's just because we didn't have the emotional connection with her character that it didn't work. And I think that, yeah, a lot of it is sleeping pill. I think it's because, her she's playing a character that has a very, like I said, a very melancholy look to her. And we don't know why she looks like that. We don't know why she is the way she is, and we don't see her change. And so, yeah, it comes across as like you're just seeing her almost like a wooden plank because we don't understand why she's like that. So, yeah, I can kind of sympathize with all this, but, you know, it's not just because she's not hot enough or whatever. It's just a whole lot of things together don't work, and the large part of it is if we had been better set up with this character, I think that the nitpicks on Lawrence herself wouldn't be there. Half a star 3 days ago. A movie from Russophobes to Russophobes. Sitting through the actor's terrible Russian accents was worse than any torture Jennifer Lawrence's character had to endure. Next time you make another unneeded anti-Russian movie, at least hire Russian actors and directors, Hollywood. Well, that's standard for Hollywood. We've had like Russians as the bad guys since back in the 70s and the 80s. I grew up with those type of movies, and this movie is a lot less offensive than a lot of those movies I grew up with. But yes, this movie kind of makes Russia feel like it's still the Soviet Union. Yeah, it does do that. So I guess if you're more of a you're more of a, maybe you're somebody that actually grew up in Russian culture, then yes, this is probably offensive. But so is almost every other Hollywood movie that's about Russians as antagonists to Americans. So I don't think that's the fault of it. But yeah, your mileage might vary there. 1 star, December 22nd, 2019. I am Soviet Russia born. This movie is offensive on every level. Okay, didn't I just talk about that? If you are to make a spy movie, can you please not make our people sound like what the West painted? Director and scriptwriter is a child with zero knowledge and no talent for writing a good story. Yeah, like I said, if you grew up in the Soviet Union, then maybe this is totally offensive to you because this movie makes it look like it is still the Soviet Union, and it's got every type of thing going on that a 1985 flick would have that was set in the Soviet Union, a spy flick. So it is what it is. But yeah, they should have kind of shown us a little bit more of the modern Russia of today and not the Russia of 1985, the Hollywood 1985 Russia. 3 stars, December 20, 2019. Good acting, intriguing story. Francis Lawrence brings us a plot with worked plot and intriguing twists. Well, yeah, I'm going to kind of agree with that. There's nothing wrong with the way the plot unfolds. It's just that Jennifer Lawrence's character, which is the title character of the film, she doesn't have a character arc, and we don't have a reason to understand where she's even starting out, much less where she ends up. That's a problem. That's a big problem. Not the actual plot or the screenplay or Jeremy Irons being like a double agent or anything like that. This is all stuff we've seen before, and it all works. It's just we needed Red Sparrow to be a character we could understand, and we don't get that. We get a very cardboard type character. Half a star, December 2019. It was probably one of the worst movies I saw for an action spy thriller. There was little to no action, and this movie relies way too much on sexual themes. You seriously can't go 5 minutes without there being another reference to sex. It's relied on and referenced so much in this film it starts to become cringeworthy before you even make the 1 hour mark. Yeah, it's again harkening back to the 1980s spy stuff where everything involved with spycraft has to do with seducing people, blackmailing them for the sex, getting them into positions and photographing them and blackmailing them. And there's a lot of that going on in this film, and almost everybody has some kind of sexual thing going on that can be exploited. And it's a lot of stuff we've seen before in these type of movies, and it's not unbelievable, but it's a little bit over heavy-handed when we can already not sympathize with the main character. So again, I say if the main character had been, properly conceived and developed, we wouldn't be nitpicking all this other stuff so much. 3 stars, November 22nd, 2019. It's John Le Carre distilled dark spy thriller with 007 trappings, secret society vixens, weird gadgets, and a super assassin cleaner to boot. It's in no hurry to conclude, and its twist is revealed as a last-minute info dump that refuses to sprinkle hints for mystery fans. Its saving grace is that of a parable about how people are trapped within their own circumstances, even when they triumph. Lawrence's acting energy, the kind that was missing from her last two X-Men movies, is here in spades. Um, I'd say Lawrence's performance is fine. It's just that the script had her doing something that just gave us a character that wasn't properly conceived. Um, Not her fault, it's the script. Now, as far as this being a parable with some kind of message, not really. You're really stretching to read a message into this. There really isn't one because you don't have enough of a character to deliver a message. So this reviewer is just like trying to find a message here. The movie doesn't deliver that actual message. That's a big stretch there. I have to disagree. 2.5 stars, okayish movie, great titties. I kind of agree it's an okayish movie. Great titties, no. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence, yes, you see her breasts at one part, but it's nothing special. Come on now, let's not like exaggerate things. 3 stars, November 10th. While there are moments that make you feel very uneasy or just flat out shocked, I still find Red Sparrow to be a fascinating film and one that I had no idea Jennifer Lawrence would do. Here she's Russian and she plays it perfectly. Her accent didn't bother me as much as it did for other people, but it did have its moments. The cinematography is beautiful. The suspense is actually nerve-wracking. The score is hauntingly great. And the overall wrapping on the top makes you feel satisfied in the end. But it's not that satisfying because her characters, it's just not all there, and that makes everything else kind of fall apart. I'm not going to review 4 and 5. I'm not going to read a 4 and 5 star because no, it's not all that. This is Rotten Reviews. So let's do a 1 star, October 2019. The parts I saw were shot well, but I missed a bunch of the story because I won't watch graphic nude scenes, sexual acts, and especially rape. And since almost all the sex was forced by her handlers, they were all rape in my opinion. There were literally so many rape scenes that they used them to cram in dialogue. I fast forwarded through so much dialogue that I really was lost as to what the story was about around 80 minutes in. Then I realized there was an hour left. I couldn't take it. I quit the movie. Their description's not exactly accurate. Yes, there's a lot of like attempted sexual acts that don't actually happen and references to acts that don't actually get shown. But no, it's not all that graphic. There's very little graphic anything going on here. It's all mostly left up to your imagination, so I completely disagree. You're way too sensitive. If you thought this was too much, you better skip almost every type of spy thriller, almost every type of movie with beyond a PG-13 rating because there wasn't actually that much stuff going on here. It was mostly left up to your imagination for the most part. If you skip the dialogue, you're not going to know what's going on because this is dialogue heavy. That's not a problem. A lot of movies, 5-star movies, are dialogue heavy. Actually, did you know there are more than one installments on the Mission Impossible franchise that are very dialogue heavy and for me seem very boring? And that would be like, for example, the very first Mission Impossible movie and the second. I can barely get through either one of those. They are not the movies we have now with all the action and etc. And so there's nothing wrong with that. You can produce a good movie that's dialogue heavy in this genre. It's just that, you had to have the main character actually be a great character, and we didn't get a good character. We got a very shallow character, unexplained character, and so it doesn't work. But yeah, if you're going to skip dialogue on a movie like this, it's going to be as though you had skipped dialogue on, the first Mission Impossible movie. In my opinion, even if you had not skipped any of the dialogue on that first Mission Impossible movie, just as an aside here, it's hard to understand what the hell's going on. I'm just letting that hang out there because that's always been my opinion. Not talking about the newest ones, the ones where it's nonstop action. They're great. But that first one, I'm sorry, but that'll put me straight to sleep. I'm not even sure I remember exactly what happened during the first Mission Impossible movie. No offense to, the makers, but I find that the worst one. Can't get through it. Uh, let's see here. We have half a star, September 15, 2019. Big Nope. Possible B movie down the road. So bad it's good, but not yet. No, it's not one of those movies. This thing is not flawed enough to be so bad it's good. It's not flawed enough to make fun of it or laugh at it. No, 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 it's not. This is 2 stars. It's completely watchable. No comedy intended. Nothing funny in here. No jokes. No, I mean, Jennifer Lawrence's character doesn't even crack a smile. There's no one-liners here or anything like that. Trust me on this one. This is completely almost depressing in a way. So let's move on. 2 stars, September 11. It tries too hard to be confronting and ends up awkward. Uh, it ends up awkward because, when we're at the end and we're looking at how Jennifer Lawrence's character, Red Sparrow, how she ends up, she's not very much different at all from how she started out, and we just don't know how she got there. That's the part that's awkward to me. Let's see, 3 stars. It doesn't hold back. Yeah, it doesn't hold back, but it's not graphic. I mean, it gets the point across. But unfortunately, that doesn't make the movie 3 stars. I still say 2 stars. Most peaked out at 2 stars. Wow, we've got 3 stars, 4 stars, 5-star reviews. Not going to read those. 5 stars, 4 stars, 1 star, August 7th, 2019. It's like best of the worst 1970s spy movies. No, I wouldn't say that. This feels very modern. It could be like best of the worst 1980s spy movies. That would be probably more accurate. It feels more like something from the 1980s. Again, that's why it offends Russian people, because it feels like you're in the Soviet Union. Really, it does. And Soviet Union's been gone for a long time. 3 stars, July 30, 2019. I started watching this once before and gave up in the middle, but Jennifer Lawrence is so good at being unreliable at this that I couldn't guess how it was going to end, other than I always guess for a more predictable good ending, so I decided to watch it through to find out the ending. Well, you said it was 3 stars. Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it more than me, because I still say it's only 2 stars. And look at all those 4 and 5 stars. I don't agree. 2.5 stars. Completely different in spots to the novel. The push for defining roles for women in movie can capitulate a great story and a great book. Oh, well, you've educated me. I didn't know this was a book. I didn't know it was based on a book. I'm assuming the book had a real character that we got, her origins and more of what she was about. And I'm guessing she probably changed from beginning to end quite a lot. And you got to see that in the book. I'm almost certain of that, but in this movie you don't get that, and that's why we're here doing a rotten review. 1 star, May 9th, 2019. Red Sparrow is a fail attempted sexy spy thriller that is dull, complex, and extremely disturbing, that even the best from Jennifer Lawrence fails to make it watchable even once. Okay. I'll say there are some plot problems, but they're like mostly nitpicks for me. The CIA agent, he's kind of got a parallel story going on at the same time Jennifer Lawrence's story is going on, and then later on in the movie they kind of meet up together and it becomes one story. That would have worked better if, like, the theme that was going on with the CIA agent doing his job before he meets Lawrence, if that had something more to do with what was going on with Lawrence's character, if those had been if they had been, matched together in their separate stories first, if the themes had matched, it would have been far more effective. But no, it feels kind of disconnected, like we're watching 2 different movies. We're watching one about a CIA agent doing his job, and then at the same time we're watching Jennifer Lawrence get forced into an espionage career of sorts against her will, and the 2 didn't seem to match out together. Like, it seemed like we had 2 different themes going on, and it felt too disconnected, and that was a fail in the plot. And then I'll also say that we don't get a good setup on the uncle, the spy master character that's high up in the ranks of the spies in Russia. Yeah, he's kind of a villain. We get that right away, but we don't understand why Jennifer Lawrence's family considers this uncle of hers to be so scary, to be so feared. And it is said that he was looking at her inappropriately when she was younger, but that's not enough to explain why the family feared him so much. We needed more setup on him, what made him like this, and why would Jennifer Lawrence really fear him, and why would her mother fear him so much? Not just because, I'm sorry, he looked at her inappropriately back in the past. That's not enough to be fearing him so much. We needed more setup on that. Again, it's just like Jennifer Lawrence's character Red Sparrow. We didn't get enough setup. It was too cardboard, you know. That's why it didn't work. I was never once really convinced that Jennifer Lawrence was afraid of him because or her mom was afraid of him, because even though the movie tried desperately to convince me they were, uh, I had no reason to think that they were. It was just the plot needed them to be. I had no explanation at all of how this uncle character came to be what he was, and you know that's a big fail, big fail on this movie. 3 stars, April 13. The start of the movie was very slow, but the part where Dominica learns how to manipulate was interesting. The second part of the movie went incredibly fast, making me feel like I missed a few things. The most interesting part of this movie is Jennifer Lawrence, her character Dominica Egorova. You never really know what she's thinking and what she is going to do next, making the ending a great surprise. The Russian accents weren't really doing it for me, but apart from that, the acting was good. Well, the problem with Dominica's character is that the first thing we see her doing is like taking a golf club and just striking down her lover and the girl, her competitor ballerina that her lover was having the affair with. She just basically set about to kill them with this golf club. She didn't end up killing them, but it looked like she was trying. And she just straight up did this, and that's fine. But we needed to see what got her to the point that she was this type of character that would do this, because plenty of people have, lovers cheat on them and even do things to them and do harm to them, and they don't do in such a cold manner what she did, and then just walk away like it's no big deal. It doesn't work like that. We need more setup on why she was capable of doing this and why she was very stoic after doing that. But we didn't get that. We didn't know why she was like this. And, that's why I watched the movie too, to find out if maybe the movie would tell me why she was like that. But it never did. We didn't even get flashbacks or anything to try to help us out. We just got a character that was ruthless and cold and very stoic from the beginning. And then she ended up that way too. So that was very disappointing. It didn't work. 2.5 stars, April 7, 2019. Actually, the plot is interesting. However, the way Jennifer Lawrence acts makes me zoom out a little bit while watching the movie. Exactly. Such a waste. This movie could have been deeper if maybe another more appropriate actress had done this job instead of Jennifer. Though her appearance was really quite convinced, she didn't look like an American at all in Red Sparrow. Yeah, it's not, the problem isn't Jennifer Lawrence's acting. The problem is what the script had her doing. The script had no setup for how she was like that. It was a very cardboard character, not because of the way Jennifer Lawrence acted, but because of what the script had her doing. This is a script fail, not Jennifer Lawrence being miscast. I don't think she was miscast. She didn't have to look exactly like a ballerina. It was close enough for the layman, but it's just her character was shallow. It was unexplained how she got to be the type of person she was, and it didn't work. Not Jennifer Lawrence being miscast at all. That's not the problem here. 3 stars, March 9th, 2019. Are you, okay, working for the Russians or the Americans? Well, we don't know really. Maybe both, or maybe for no one. Well, if you're making fun of the plot, we've had so many spy things that go along these lines. Double agents, triple agents. You don't really know who's working for who. It's all acceptable in a spy thriller. That's what spy thrillers are. It's just that, your main character in the spy thriller, it better be a real character, not just a shallow cardboard character. Otherwise, all the rest of that stuff's meaningless. 0.5 star, February 28th, 2019. What a great idea for a film, but what a bad film. Largely agree. 2.5 stars, not good. Most will watch to see Jennifer Lawrence in a nude scene. Yeah, there's just one. You don't really get to see that much of her. Hell, there's unauthorized pictures of her on the internet that are a lot easier to find than sitting through the running time of this just to see that. Trust me. Half a star, February 25th. 2019. Possibly the worst movie I've ever seen, pointlessly convoluted and unnecessarily graphic. The characters are thin and her motivation seems weak. Yeah, her motivation's just not there because we never get to know what she is, so we don't know what motivates her. We know her uncle forces her to do these things because she's afraid of what will happen to her mother, but that's not enough. We just don't understand what makes her tick, and that's why this fails. Unnecessarily graphic, not really. There are spy thrillers with far more graphic stuff that are much better than this. It's not that. It's just that all that stuff that's kind of very negative, but not necessarily graphically shown, but very negative. It needs to happen to a character that we sympathize with, and we just don't because we don't know this character, so it seems very off-putting and superficial. 2.5 stars, February 22nd, 2019. A poorly made spy film. Red Sparrow is incredibly boring and monotonous. When a Russian ballet dancer is severely injured, her uncle recruits her to become a covert agent who specializes in seduction and is tasked with discovering a CIA agent's source within the Russian government. Despite its strong cast, none of the performances are very good, and the pacing is excruciatingly slow, taking a long time to get to the plot. Yeah, it should have spent that running time characterizing Red Sparrow, Dominica, but it didn't. It only characterized her in a very superficial way. It showed what happened to her. It spent a lot of time showing what was happening to her, but not enough time what was going on in her head and how she got to be who she was. That's the problem. It could have been the same running time. It's just it didn't use it right. 1.5 stars, February 16. This is a spy film with no intrigue or suspense. It also missed the mark on encouraging the audience to suspend disbelief by cutting corners or making odd choices that disrupt the illusion. It takes place in the present, but the files are exchanged via a rubber-banded bunch of 5 megabyte floppy disks. The characters who are supposed to be dancers are very much not, and the most characters struggle to a distracting degree with a Russian accent. As much as I wanted to like it, I should have just read the, yeah. Well, yeah, thank you for bringing up something I had on my list. There's kind of an off-putting part where this is why I say it feels like something set in an earlier time period, like even the late 80s. Part of the plot involves some stolen data, and the data is on what appears very much to be 1.44 megabyte floppy disks from back in the day that are kind of rubber banded together without labels. Yeah, that harkens back to the early to mid 90s, early 90s more accurately. But this whole thing it feels like a film that took place in the late 80s or mid 80s. And then those floppy disks don't even belong back there. The floppy disks belong in the early 90s. Yeah, it's weird. Weird choices. Again, it's a script problem. I don't understand the weird choices. It's like whoever wrote this, they need to go back to class on how to write the script for a movie, because I'm pretty certain the actual novel this is based on didn't make those type of mistakes. But let's move on. Half a star. I call these movies happy end because I am happy when they end so I can go home. Well, I saw this in the theater and it wasn't that bad, but I kind of just considered it okay. But it wasn't bad enough that I was upset that I paid to get into it. It wasn't that bad. 1 star, February 15, raunchy but messy and uninteresting. And 1 star, February 10th. I couldn't finish watching. The skin-peeling torture was it for me. Yeah, there's a character like a hired killer who likes to torture people when he's trying to get them to divulge information. He likes to punish them. He enjoys it. And he uses kind of a skin peeler device that's used. The film says it's used in skin grafting procedures, and it looks kind of like a potato peeler of sorts, but it's designed for human skin. And there's just like 1 or 2 scenes where he uses it, and it's not that graphic. You see the result of it on a patch of somebody's arm and leg, and I wouldn't call that so graphic. You see far more than that in these type of movies that are more successful, so that's a nitpick, really. The main problem with this is just that Jennifer Lawrence's character, the Red Sparrow, she's not characterized. We don't see a character arc. We don't even know how she got to be the way she was at the beginning. She virtually didn't change at all by the end. If she had been characterized properly, then all of the rest of this would have worked just fine. But she wasn't, and so here we are at 49%. I would say anywhere between 55% to 40% would be fair to me. Just by the small number of user ratings, it's obvious that people just aren't bothering with this movie. And so I don't think these numbers will change, or they deserve to change. In fact, I'm kind of surprised the critics actually have this as high as 45%. Usually critics, man, they wouldn't tolerate a lot of this stuff. So I'm surprised the critics don't have this down to like 20%. But who knows? Like I said many times before, there's no accounting for the critics and what motivates them or what they are going to see or not see. So I've said my piece on this, and that's going to be it for this episode, and I will see you on the next episode of Rotten Reviews.